I went ahead and turned my attention to the cowl. You can see it's kind of taped in place. The fuselage is resting on a bar clamp that I have, and then it's kind of taped in place. A little bit rickety, but I find for these electric motors it's kind of the best way to get the motor and the cowl in place. So I went ahead and I took out the top and used a 1/2-inch dowel wrapped with, I think it was 150 grit paper, and just cleaned up the edges all the way around. And it's kind of taped into place one side so that I can just take the cowl off to work with the engine mount. You can see there's quite a bit of right thrust. However, I don't believe there's any down thrust to speak of. Sunny sky. Let's see, X2220, it's 1400. The holes that are in the kit on the motor mount don't really fit up very well with the this motor. You can see it sits pretty high up. What I need to do is lower it 1 inch and 3/16, I think it was. 1 inch and 3/16. I have marked, let's see if I can get it in focus. I have it marked right here. It's the bottom lines. Bottom line here and the bottom line here. And what I intend to do, since the holes here are already perfectly lined up with the laser cutting, I'm just going to glue this whole motor mount together. It hasn't been done yet. Once that's done, then cut out along the lines. And then what I intend to do, I made this up last night so it could be drawn, 2 1/16 inch pieces of light ply that have been laminated together. Hasn't been final shaped yet, but then that will rest on top of here, much like, you kind of see that. So that's the plan anyway. Okay, so I went ahead and glued up the base here, glued up the top piece. I previously had used this top piece here as a template to make a paper template from Manila card paper. Too much coffee that morning. And then I used the glue stick to just glue that on to the 1/8 inch laminated light ply that I made up. So I put the mount into a little vise here. I'm just going to use a, see if you can see it's just a regular old big box store, Japanese style, full cut. It's pretty good saw, it's pretty sharp. I always apply a little bit of candle wax to the blade. Okay, so the base is what I'm interested in. It will get glued and screwed to the firewall, and then this will rest on top, and then I will add some gussets up underneath. I tried to keep most of the right thrust in. Here we have it. The one you can see the right thrust. One thing I didn't mention was the hole is about 1/32 off center towards this side, and of course that makes up a little bit for that right thrust, so the prop shaft to kind of be centered in the cowl. But anyway, you can see, let's when I get the focus. You can see there's a whole lot of right thrust there, and it's still sitting up about, I don't know, about a 1/16 of an inch, maybe a little bit more, sticking out over the cowl more than it needs to. So I need to go in and do a little bit of adjustment here. So I took a protractor and scribed off about a 1/16 of an inch off of each side. Used a sanding block, sanded that down, and I have gotten it closer to the cowl, and I've removed some of that right thrust. A few more strokes with the 60 grit paper, and I think that looks okay. Got about a 1/16 of an inch clearance there on the right hand side. Prop clear is okay, and I think I pretty much got the intent of the right thrust there. The other side looks good as well. After cutting down the bracket or the mount, you can see I had some areas where there wasn't full contact with the top. So you can see that, pretty simple. So what I did is I just took some 1/16 inch ply, again just spare wood from the kit, and added 3 sides all the way around, and that's already been glued in place. And so now it's time for the top to come on like so. And we'll go ahead and epoxy this in with some 30-minute epoxy. As far as attaching the cowl, the kit wants you to use tape, like clear tape, Scotch tape, packing tape, something like that. I don't know. I'm sure that works, and I know the idea is just to make this kit as simple and as light as possible. But I just don't think that's going to be good for longevity. And even though I don't like having screws sticking out of the sides of my cowls, I think that's a better option than using tape. They also want you to use tape for the canopy as well, and I don't think that's going to work either. So anyway, what I did was I took scribed a line across. It's about 9/32. I think it's about 9/16 from the wood of the fuselage to here. So I have that about 9/32. Mark 2 holes there on each side, and we'll just drill the holes. I'm drilling for these servo screws. I'll be using those. Alright, well, getting those little backing blocks inside was much easier said than done. There really wasn't any way to get my hand in there to get those blocks. Ultimately, I ended up having to stick the drill bit in the side and then try to match up the block with the drill bit, and then pull the drill bit out and position the block in place. And wow, it was a real hassle. Anyway, I got it done. So I've gone ahead. I'm sorry, I've done one. Now I'm going to go in and just open up the holes for the backing blocks. I think I said I was going to use ply before. I ended up using about 1/8 inch thick balsa, hardened up with CA. So clear out the hole, then I add a little bit of candle wax to the threads of the screw. Just makes it easier to get going. Add a little bit of CA, harden the threads. This is pretty standard stuff. Nothing, most people won't be surprised by this. Up, I'll flip it over and do the other side. So it looks alright. What you want, dog? What you want? Alright, that looks alright. Alright. I can live with this. I think it's better than tape. And I'll end up painting the screws the same color as the canopy. So, I'm sorry, the cowl. Speaking of canopy, that's next. Alright, so the canopy. The canopy already cut the flange away. Just kind of quickly gave that a trim. And then I taped along what appears to me to be the cut line. The cut line on this canopy is a little hard for me to see. So I'm thinking this blue tape is the outline. And then we'll go up here and trim this as well. I believe, from what I can tell, there's a little bit of a trim line right here. That's a little hard to see. But until I clear this part right here, I really can't get it on the fuselage to find out. Anyway, I'm going to start with the back here first, try to get this trimmed. And we'll see how it goes. That creates a nice little hook actually for the back. Alright, I think for now I'm just going to work on the front. Now I believe the cut line is somewhat of a curve here. Might be a little bit challenging. The general idea. I think there's a cut line right here, which would come up right about like this. I don't really see I don't see a cut line between here and here. So let's just give it a little curve and see what happens. And I think this area right here is supposed to be flat. I don't know if you can see it, but let's follow this curve right here. Close. Still think I need to drop it down more. Let's take a quick look at the sides. I think the cut line is right here, but that would be... Now if I lower the front, that lowers the sides a little bit as well. I think that's where it needs to go. So, I did a little more trimming here. I've kind of left this point, even though I'm not sure if I like that point there, but it does seem to flow really well with the fuselage. But I do like the way now how it sits, pretty much even, right along through here. And that's pretty much the same on the other side. Fit is really nice right here. I'm thinking maybe that point is supposed to be there, so I may just leave it. Of course, it won't really matter until it's all covered and then I go in for the final fit. But I'm kind of liking the way it looks now. So we'll keep working on this and then get it really close. And then after we cover it, we'll come back and do a final fitting.